Hi, I'm Speed Chuck, and this is a devlog for my GMC Jam game, Cloven Canyon. This 1-bit platformer was made in 4 days for the August 2023 Game Jam and was ranked 5th place overall by the reviewers. In this video, I'll give an overview of my design decisions and talk about how they turned out. In the summer of 2023, I played The Messenger for the first time. I was a little late to the party, but I really enjoyed the simple side-scrolling style of the early game and the uniqueness of the cloud jump. I figured if I could come up with a unique feeling mechanic, I could try a jam game with the same simple side-scrolling style. I toyed with a bunch of ideas, but settled on a projectile weapon that returns to the player. That alone wouldn't be unique enough, so I added more. Dash and wall jump mechanics, modeled after Hollow Knight's dash and wall jump, filled out the character's moveset. Then I decided to let the character spring jump off the projectile weapon. I realized 2 days later that I'd only created a 2D version of Cappy from Super Mario Odyssey, but hey, at least it worked. The jam theme was Bullseye, which wasn't congealing with 2D platforming in my head at all, but I really wanted to make a 2D platformer. So I made the enemies into bulls, made the projectile that was going to be a boomerang into a target, and then filled the game with cow and target motifs. I did all of this using 1-bit graphics. This is my third jam game using minimal art styles, and in this game, it paid off. Since I modeled the initial concept after Ninja Gaiden and The Messenger, the pixel graphics were a great fit. I really enjoyed giving each mutant bull as much character as possible. The real linchpin of a simple, old-school 2D platformer is the level design. You've got games like Castlevania or Ghosts and Goblins on the NES that have the most simple controls possible, and those games are carried by satisfying level design. Each obstacle teaches a lesson or challenges the player in a unique way, and yet uses only very simple mechanics. I know I'm saying simple a lot. Cloven Canyon was my opportunity to try for that golden standard. It was a partial success. I taught the player well. Jump, coins, spikes, enemies, hard-to-reach bonuses, dash, projectile enemies, wall jump, and so on. Each mini-challenge built on the ones before it. I spent time tweaking to make sure the dash always felt right for the shape of the level, that no jumps felt frustrating or finicky. I created 4 unique enemies, timed switches, and a boss at the end of the game. The projectile jump helps the player take shortcuts and is required only in the last level and in only the easiest way possible. Good stuff. The problem was that the player movement did not fit my concept for the level design. I wanted side-scrolling design with no vertical camera movement. But the main gimmick, the projectile jump, has enough vertical movement to cross most of the screen. No one who played the game complained, but the level design was strained by my decisions, and I think the player movement might have worked better with more verticality and freedom. Not to mention that the player's horizontal movement is slow. I wanted the player to move in an even number of pixels per frame, which ended up being 1 pixel per frame. The only way to increase it was either to double it, too fast, or to use subpixels, too janky for this type of movement. The dash alleviates this problem some, but I got complaints anyway. These flaws prevented the game from reaching full potential. I designed the levels around them, but often felt like I was held back. My health system also ended up pretty controversial. The player is technically unkillable. There are no bottomless pits or health bars. Instead, the player loses gems when hit. Some gems can be recollected by killing enemies. The game grades the player at the end of each level based on whether they got hit at all, how many gems and relics they picked up, and sometimes how much time they took. This is a good system because it allows those who aren't good at platformers to play large chunks of the game without too much frustration. It also encourages replayability. I often make my games too hard, and this choice kept it accessible for all jam reviewers. But it's also a bad system, because if the player only cares about beating the level and not about the gems, the game is impaired. Half the obstacles are invalidated. My level design also sometimes challenges players in other ways, where failure means retrying the platforming obstacle, But this just ended up frustrating players that didn't have the skill to make it past. Death might have been kinder than restarting the challenge from ground zero. Just ask Bennett Foddy. On a brighter note, I had a lot of fun making cutscenes for this game and polishing the player experience to an absolute sheen. Some of the concepts might be flawed, but this is the most real-feeling game I've put out in over a decade. I especially like the boss battle at the end of the game. It's not unique at all in its design, but I'm very proud of the effects and the feel of it. That's all for this game, which can be found on itch.io, link in the description. If you liked this devlog, please let me know. I have an exciting indie game I'm drafting a concept for, and I haven't decided whether to make videos on it or not. Thanks for watching.